Right. Any apologies then?
Yes, I've got Manjit Jahuti and Liz Connolly.
Any others?
That's all I've had.
I think Jack did say he might not be here, but I think if James is here.
Sorry, Mark. So sorry, Jack Sharma sends apologies, but I'm here, Adrian, to represent the college, James Norris from Walsall College.
Good to see you, James. I'm now on a proper computer. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Excellent. Instead of on a silly phone. Right, happy days. Right, any declarations of interest? No? Excellent. Right, item 3 in the public session. We've got the Bloxwich Town Deal programme. Who's taking this?
That's me, Chair, if that's okay.
By the way.
Do you want me to share my screen, or are you happy for me to just talk to the paper that's in Teams?
It's entirely up to you, Mark, whatever you think is going to be most valuable.
I'll share my screen and I will take you through this quickly, I promise. Can everybody see that? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Chair, this is just an update as where we are with the Bloxwich Town Deal programme. As you can see, there are 5 projects on the list. I won't go through them. You can see them. 2 that are coming to you today through their business case presentations are the Active Travel and Connectivity Programme and the Community Capital Programme. So I will allude to them, but I won't say too much about those because people will be presenting in the room. Those are 2 joint programmes with Walsall, so they stretch from Bloxwich into Walsall or the other way, depending on where you start your journey. And the Community Capital one covers both areas. That's why they're being progressed early, because their submission dates are to the earlier 28th of June. The Active Travel one, you'll receive these details, so they're there for you to reference, but I'm not going to go through them now because I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. And the same for the Community Capital one, which Kelly will be taking you through, and she will start at she's first on the schedule for those because she'll take you through the format of the business cases so that you get an understanding of the depth and breadth of the information that's required. Moving on to the specific Bloxwich projects. Green Bloxwich project, the business case is well under development, being led by Liz Stuffings. There's been an assessment of land and the allotments and parks, and the availability has been completed. Draft plans have been drawn up, together with some consultation carried out with key stakeholders. Some of the 3 buildings that are looking to be repurposed because they're currently empty are the Sons of Rest, the 1930 Tudor house, and the existing community building. The parks included, but not limited to, include King George V, Bloxwich Park, Leamore Park, Promenade Gardens, and Pat Carlin's Memorial Gardens. Cost estimates are being drawn up for inclusion, and they will be included in the business case, and they will come to a future meeting for more consideration. Promotion of construction skills through Regen programme. Again, the business case is being drafted at the moment and will make its journey through the Town Deal Board when ready. Some of the key development milestones that we're developing and working to is we're completing an assessment of the land availability across Bloxwich area that could come forward to development, and that's part of the contextual element of the business case. We're having discussions with developers and RSLs to raise their awareness, together with discussions with Walsall College as the key training provider, including links with the new Walsall Town Deal Construction Skills Academy that will be established in Walsall. In terms of the investments, the idea of this programme is to give grants and gap funding allocations to developers and construction organisations, etc., to bring forward sites, with the key principle of including training, apprenticeships, traineeships, job creation, supply chain opportunities to get the maximum social return on investment and also keep the pound that's spent in Bloxwich and in Walsall. There are a number of things we have to do to take this forward. One is to put in place joint working partnership agreements with the RSLs and with the college, primarily the college, who are going to be driving the training forward. and for the others to maximise the training that's happened. I won't go into any further detail on this one because it will come in front of you in the future. The last project, the Incubation Space and Digital Access Centre, again, the business case is being drafted. We've got Burton Knowles doing a second sweep to look for potential properties that could be purchased in and around the High Street area, and that will be coming back to us soon. We conditioned BOP, who are a consultancy organisation, and they look to understand an assessment of what the requirements of the new centre would look like at local level, regional level in terms of the context. They've been mapping out the services that are around currently in block switch and identifying gaps in provision, and have been presenting and meeting with local stakeholders to get an insight of the sorts of services that are needed in the area and could be developed from there. I won't go any further on that, Chair, because the BOP consultation is included in the papers which people can see. Just for completeness, we've had block switch advisory boards met on the 10th of February and again on the 19th of April, and we've got a meeting scheduled for the 7th of June, and that will allow the projects that are in front of the board today to go to the advisory boards for more comment and more support and additions should it be needed. That's it from me, Chair.
Are there any questions at this point? I think we'll probably be going in private session. We'll probably be going through it in a lot more detail, some of these projects. But if anybody's got any questions or comments on the procedure and where we're going on the block switch side of things, it would be useful to say so now. Everybody's happy? Good. Okay, Mark, do the Walsall Town Deal programme then, please.
That's Philippa and Bright will be presenting that.
Oh, okay.
Chair.
Okay, that's me, Chair. Thank you very much. Again, I won't put the paper up. It's in the pack rather than scroll through and send your eyes funny. We'll talk through the projects ably assisted by Bright. So it's fair to say that some of these business cases went to our financial subgroup yesterday, and the excitement was palpable at really getting some flesh on the bones and the real progress that's been made, which is just fantastic news. So at the top we have the performing arts venue, the theatre project. So business case has been drafted by Arcadis, and Bright Legister, who's with us today, is the lead on this and many other of the Walsall projects. We now have a theatre consultant who's working with the architects, and we're looking at all those technical theatre elements like orchestra pit, fly tower, truck accessibility, all of these things. Because of the financial analysis and the complexity of this and some of the other projects, the business case is going to be submitted later than we'd hoped, but we'd rather do it right than do it early. We're still working up concept design on this, and the key thing about this is it's connected with the Connected Gateway project, which is our sort of flagship town centre regeneration project. And then linking those two together, you'll see the real critical mass of transformation in the town centre, which is really exciting. And because of that element, Network Rail, West Midlands Trains, countless other partners are being consulted just to ensure that everything's aligned. So business case should be completed in July. The Creative Industries Hub, stage 1 was completed in March, which raised 3 potential venues for this project. There's now negotiations ongoing with owners to try and agree a price, which is proving relatively challenging. Again, operational model financial analysis means that the business case will be submitted in July rather than the original date. We're working closely, obviously, with Jeff at Urban Hacks to ensure that there's a sustainable financial model there and that the space is fit for purpose for the project. We also know that we'll need additional funds for this project just because of the price of the property and the running costs. Active public spaces. So again, Bright's leading on this, and some work has gone into agreeing the red line. There are various elements to really improve the public realm, the space around Gallery Square, around the Canal Basin, and that bit at the top of Park Street. Again, that critical mass of regeneration. Bright, do you want to say a couple of words on that? With your mute off.
That must be better. So
Yeah.
we're currently looking at the brief that was given, and we are producing a scheme in accordance with the current budget that we have. But on top of that, the designers have identified areas where they think that in order to ensure continuity of design, we need to sort of look at some additional bits at the edges of Gallery Square. So we're currently doing 2 options within the OBC. One option will be the budget compliant option, and the other option would be where we will be reviewing the additional elements that the designers have suggested. Some of it will be with regards to the areas around Gallery Square, but the other areas are things like CCTV, which originally weren't captured within the brief. So those are the 2 options that we're looking at the moment. Thank
you very much. On to Construction Skills Academy, which is being led by our colleagues at Walsall College. So design team are in place, working upon surveys. The business case has been drafted. And this programme is looking really good to be on target, and is on target to issue a tender in June and handing over in September 23. So all good there. So the business case there is on track for May submission. The electric, oh, right.
So I just wanted to say, because we've got James in the room, I did these summaries, James, in accordance with the conversations that I had with Deb before he went on holiday. So hopefully all the details still applicable.
I've heard of no deviation from that, Bright. So, but I know he'll be catching up with you on his return, won't he? So,
perfect. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that clarification. The Electric Vehicle Sustainability Centre, another Walsall College lead. A lot of the work here has been on finding suitable land and working through those commercial elements. Design is underway, and a report is going to the college board, or went to the college board, and there'll be another one going in July. And business case again on track for June. Digital Skills Hub, that's Kevin at the Mercy and Trust. Preferred site has been identified, and there is a period of heads of terms until July. So, while the proposition is worked through, again, the OBC has been drafted and the initial feedback's been given, and conversations are happening with the planning authority, and there is some design work going on. And again, the business case is on track to be delivered at the end of May. The other 2 projects are going to be covered in closed session as part of business case discussion. So with that, I'll just pause for questions.
Any questions from anybody? Tara?
Hi, I just wanted to, one of the things that we talked about, Philippa, really in quite a lot of detail in previous meetings was how we were going to consult and galvanise the views and influence of our young people in the borough, across all of these projects, considering they are the future and the people that will be using these facilities. Can you just confirm what we've done and what's in the business cases as part of the criteria to meet that?
Because of the really tight timescales for business cases, we've kind of handed them off to get the meat of that done while we're working up a consultation strategy, just trying to phase things and to get them done in time to secure the investment. We have been talking to the college and to our own employment and skills team about the best way to consult and co-design, and the Walsall Cultural Compact as well, in terms of some of our cultural projects. So we'll be working that up as of now, because all of our resources had to go into the business case development, the sort of key technical requirements of that in the first instance. I'm really happy to work with any board members who'd like to work up a consultation strategy that involves our young people and that we can go and roll out now, because obviously the more of you that we talk to, the more of those groups we hit.
I do agree with that, Tara, to be honest, because when we were doing the master plan in general a few years ago, it was key to involve young people. I mean, we have 14 million bus journeys come through Walsall every year. And my argument is because of the amount of schools that we have got in the town centre or around the town centre, a lot of the 14 million are young people coming in, as well as the college. Sorry, James, I didn't forget you really. And one of the key things for Walsall, I think, going into the future, is when all of those youngsters have sort of left school, do they still come to Walsall? You know, and what are we doing actually when there's parents' evenings or events where parents have to come into Walsall? What are we doing to engage with them to make sure they might think, oh, this is a nice town, we'll come back here and do something else. So I do think that is key, and certainly was part of the master plan. And we do need to engage with the young people as we go forward. I used to be one, not anymore.
I agree, Councillor Andrew, and I do think, you know, I appreciate the timescales and the restrictions around the business cases from a financial point of view. I think it strengthens those business cases if we can reflect and quote young people's views within that. So I think it's incumbent on us as a board to see a plan that shows that consultation. There are enough agencies and links in Walsall to be able to do that very quickly. Appreciate sort of pandemic times that was more challenging. It's not the case now, and equally the online forums are there that could be set up within 2 weeks if need be. So I do think we need to push and challenge that a bit more.
I've got two other people coming in, but James, is there anything that we could do more immediately through the college in terms of through the structures that you might have in terms of engaging with your students and that?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you can imagine that we have a number of student voice focus groups that take in sort of generally how students feel and access services in and around college buildings. But I think Adrian, there is something we could do. We could probably do it quite rapidly just for some groups. In fact, Adrian, I think we're at a meeting tomorrow, aren't we, where we're talking to students about viewing and imaging around. So that might be quite useful. If we could weave that in tomorrow, it might even give us an early indication of some of those views from what will only be a selective group. I'm happy to volunteer through the comms team or through John that we can actually accelerate this and do some focus groups with all different kinds of demographic across all of our campuses, if that's helpful.
Great. That's a good plan. That's a good plan, James, actually. And yeah, I will see you in the morning at the Walsall Story launch. In fact, the Walsall Story, Philippa and Mark, that strategy and that term programme might actually be worth bringing to the board, actually, so that the board members are engaged in that too at some point. I've got Carl and Rob. So Carl, if you want to fire away.
Thank you, Chair. It was just a quick question, just in regards to mainly probably for all projects, but specifically around the theatre. What has been the thought processes around agility on that particular project in terms of flexibility and multiple application, in the sense of that, you know, a year down the track, things have moved a little bit in terms of what is deemed as popular or whatever. Is there flexibility within the design being considered that the premises can be multiple in terms of facing different audiences for different age groups for different themes? Has that been brought into the business case, Philip?
In terms of the physical design, you mean?
Yeah, and allowing capability for the future. So future proofing it in the sense of making sure it's got the right, shall we say, infrastructure in there to accommodate for things in the future, rather than having to spend an enormous amount of money to then reinvent the wheel again or repurpose it, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole concept behind the theatre is to sort of future-proof the offer and ensure that the offer can grow, isn't it? Because we know about the constraints that have been at the arena. Great facility as it was in its way, the whole aspiration to upsize it is an element in itself of future-proofing, isn't it? By taking it to that critical 1,000-seater point, you suddenly get a whole new raft of shows that you can attract, a whole new raft of clients that you can come to, and worked into the plans are the ways to bring in our communities and and adapt programs to ensure that not only will it be commercially successful, but it will also have a wide appeal. Broadening the appeal is a real fundamental principle of taking this theatre into the town centre.
Yeah, it's certainly been part of the discussion to have it as flexible space as well, because there might be some things that don't require 1,000 seats. It might require 250. So in terms of doing that, that's certainly part of the discussions. Because I think some of the other things that we've discussed as well is this isn't something that we just want to be open at the weekend or in the evening. We want this to be active all the time, whether that's schools performing their Christmas concert or their award ceremonies or whatever it is. Sort of having that community focus as well as getting some of the some bigger names in is certainly something that's being built into that, and I think that will be when that business case comes to the board, that will be a very, very interesting discussion, I'm sure. Robert?
Yeah, just conscious that we've got a broad programme here of many different initiatives and a lot of different deliverables. The frequency by which we meet is, there's a fair amount of time in between each session. So as I look at these businesses, there's at least two due in the next few weeks. And I heard Philippa say that we had to move some to make sure we did it right, which of course I agree with. I just think from an accountability perspective, kind of our success rate of delivering against these target dates, Mark. So I really want to make sure that we're held accountable to this. Next meeting, I don't want to say, oh, we had to move this one out another 2 months. And then you look back and you've moved the programme 6 months and actually you've missed 3 deadlines. So have we got some kind of governance around that tracking?
I don't think we can move it out much further because the government deadlines wouldn't let us. So.
Yeah, we've got a forward plan on the track, and now that we're into the business cases coming forward, Robert, we've got we know which ones are coming to which meetings. We've got 2 advisory boards, one on the 6th and one on the 7th of June, where these projects will be going to them for further discussion. And we've got a board meeting, I think it's the 15th of June. So these will be coming back. We're not asking you to approve the business cases that we've got today. We're asking you to review them, comment on them, have a look at them. They'll go to the advisory boards and then they'll come back in June for the final agreement. Running alongside that, the others that are ready to come through, I think there's another 2 that are going to be coming through. They will come through as well to the next June meeting. And then we're going to schedule regular meetings each month in July and August, etc., as we move through, because there's 2 different dates. There's a date for Walsall, which is the 28th of June, and there's a date for Bloxwich, which is the 4th of August. There's a potential for seeking extensions to those dates, which for some projects we might have to do because of the technical nature, but we'll keep you up to speed on that. And it's all moving now. Now we've got the business cases coming through. We won't have the stop-start anymore. We're actually going to be on a plan. And apologies for the stop-start nature before. That was because there was a hiatus while we were doing the crunching and the drafting and the thinking and the consulting.
So that makes sense to me. We might just want to consider just an overarching timeline for the programme, just with the key dates and deliverables, because you guys know it in extensive detail, but when you're coming in and out of this, just to have one time frame for the programme would be very helpful. Okay,
we'll do.
We'll get that done. We'll get that done, Robert. I think with all these business cases starting to come to a head, and I think in a couple of months' time we'll be like fed up a meeting, if I'm honest. We won't, because it's very exciting stuff, to be fair. Ray, you wanted to come in there?
Yeah, just very briefly. I think it's a similar point to Robert's, really. I appreciate we probably look at risk at a project level as the business cases come through. I just wonder whether we've got a programme level risk register that as a board we have access to and oversight of, which would I think it picks up, Robert, some of what you're saying about kind of understanding of deliverables, but I think there are other points around slippage, etc., that I think as a board be good to be cited on if that's possible. Thank you.
I think that was always the aspiration. You're absolutely right, Ray. I think that when the business cases are through and we know what funding we've secured and we know what projects are definitely on the slab, then we will move forward as a programme quite clearly.
The other thing as well, Ray, if I may, is the one of the outcomes from the business cases that are being drafted are the risk plans.
Yeah,
so they will flow from that together with the outcomes and the key deliverables and the key milestones. They all flow from the business cases. So get the business cases done, then we can do those overarching documents from the business cases.
John King.
Yeah, just very quickly picking up on Tara's point, which is a really good point there. Behind the scenes, what's been going on, apart from anything else, we've been engaging with all the project leads on all of this. The launch tomorrow of our Walsall story, or We Are Walsall 2040, will there's a lot of work going on there to directly link into all of the networks, the existing networks we have, to reach right out across the borough. But also in the last month, couple of months, we were successful in applying and being added to a list of local authorities that are receiving considerable government funding to explore digital engagement. So we'll be selecting a platform fairly shortly, and the intention from local government, at least anyway, from central government, is that this is really the way forward, and particularly if we want to engage with younger people, accessing or reaching them through their mobile phones, that's the way forward. So there's a lot of work been going on in the background. There's also been a restructuring of the considerable restructuring of the communications team at Walsall Council. So these projects will be supported by resources that we didn't have access to before. So I'm greatly relieved, but I'm also quite excited at the possibilities now, the things that we can do with the tools that we're going to have available to us.
Thanks, John. And I think if there's any sort of partners around the table that have got marketing and comms teams with any expertise that they want to lend out for this particular scheme, then I'm sure that'd be really helpful as well. Because I think, it is the Towns Board that's responsible for this programme going forward. What happens in Walsall is, if it goes wrong, I'll get the blame. If it goes right, everybody gets the accolades. It's great. It's a good system. We like it. Right. Are there any other comments or questions on that before we move into private session? No? Excellent. Right. Whoever's kicking out all of the public, all the many millions of people that have been watching us in this public, I know we're recorded, but let's move into private